So for session 3, we're going to hear from John King from 3ZZZ, who has worked with an intern from An Eye to the Future and currently working with someone who is vision impaired. And John will share his experience and also talk to the topics that we've already spoken about around cost, safety, and then also speak about the productivity culture and the benefits of employing someone who is vision impaired. So thank you for joining us today, and over to you, John.
Thanks, Maddie. Hi, I'm John from 3ZZZ, the ethnic language community radio station based in Melbourne. We got involved with the Eye to the Future project as a way of diversifying our workforce. We're naturally, being the ethnic language radio station, rather diverse to start with. But we also want to make sure we reflect the diversity of our communities, and some of the people in our communities obviously have some form of disability throughout, as well as the other intersections that we come across, making sure we have good gender balances, representation from the LGBTIQA plus community, younger people, older people. We want to make sure that our organisation reflects our community as best as we can, even when we do only have 7 staff actually getting paid and 400 odd volunteers. So for us, the Eye to the Future came up as a program. It's like, okay, that looks good. We're looking for some new and diverse ways of employing staff. Let's get involved. Let's test the waters and see how we stack up in terms of being an accessible workplace, and where can we improve through that process. So it was a good test case scenario for us. We went through the application process. Our processes didn't really have to change. We added the screening interview, having the online interview as a first port of call, with then the invitation to the selected candidate to come in for an in-person interview, just to make sure that the personalities and the workplace seem to match as well. And from there, we then chose a candidate for the internship program. Because we were new to the program and new to trying ourselves as an accessible workplace, we just started with a 1 day a week, 13-week internship program to see how that would work. And in doing that, we're able to sort of do an internal review of what's our workspace look like, what do we need to make sure things are safe for an employee with a vision impairment. And then also a case of a lot of the changes we made were picking stuff off the floor that shouldn't be there anyway, because it was an OH&S risk anyway. So we were able to tidy up the workspace a bit. We had previously had no one sitting at reception for a while, so it had accumulated a lot of equipment we were storing there. So we tidied all that up and made sure that the space was right. And then we like has been discussed throughout this session already, we worked with the job placement providers, the workplace job access providers, to make sure that our intern could get the equipment they needed to do their job. And that didn't cost us anything. The person came into our business space and sort of had a look around at all the equipment that our intern would be using, sort of worked out what was needed, and gave us the information we needed, and went through the job access provider to make sure that the invoices and the costs were all incurred to the right people, not to the organisation. So that was all dealt with. I didn't really have to do anything, just filled out a couple of forms to confirm that our intern was working with us. And then from that, we sort of got to the end of it, and we worked out, well, the person we employed as an intern was a really nice person, and is completely capable of doing the job that we had at reception. So why don't we just hire him on to fill the full-time role at reception? So we're able to do that and keep a good employee and a good person within the organisation.
That's absolutely brilliant and a fantastic outcome for that. And I'm sure there would be people in this room who might have a few questions for you about your experience with Eye to the Future and employing someone who is blind or vision impaired. So I'd like to open that up for anybody who has questions. I'll start with a question since nobody has jumped in. What support was around for you to access throughout that internship, whether it was through us or through others? Did you have supports around you?
Yeah, so we had the intern had a job advocate or some similar description of a job position, someone who worked at Vision Australia, who was in regular contact with the intern as well as with us to make sure things were working well. We also had the Eye to the Future project officer, yourself, Maddie, checking in every week just to make sure things are going well and see if you could help in any way. But it was sort of like we were probably pleasantly surprised at how well set up our organisation was. We do have a lot of older broadcasters, volunteers at the radio station. So someone had in the design of our building thought of a lot of things already. And then it just gave us the confidence of having employed the intern that, like I said, pleasantly surprised that everything sort of just seemed to work out. We didn't run into any real issues.
Fantastic. And what kind of technology did your intern or your employee use?
Yeah, the primary ones are just the Zoom functions within all computers. They had been going through their own training. They had an acquired vision impairment, so they were learning. They had been proactive and gone through a number of training sessions with outside providers before we employed them to learn how to relearn how to use a computer with less sight. And then one of the site inspection from one of the third-party providers, they came in and on the specific work computer just made sure he knew where the shortcuts were. And then they also were able to access what is essentially a huge digital magnifying glass, so that documentation can be put under the magnifying glass and zoomed in on to be able to read and sign and fill out forms. We're a bit of an older organisation, 33 years old. We've got a lot of forms that are filled out by our volunteers and by staff, lots of paperwork. So a lot of that was able to be viewed easily on that digital magnifying glass.
Thank you, John.